Hola amigos, today we're going to be making calabaza and tacha, which is one of the traditional foods for Dia de los Muertos celebrations, and it is also one of my all-time favorite seasonal treats. You're going to start off by adding some water to a very large pot. It needs to be large enough to fit your pumpkin, and you're going to add some aromatic spices like canela, star anise, clove, allspice, salt, piloncillo for sweetness, or brown sugar, and then you can add some orange peel, or when I want that extra orangey flavor, I add a sliced orange, like a small sliced orange, and then you're just going to simmer that and stir it now and then just to help the piloncillo completely dissolve, or brown sugar if you're using that instead. And once that's dissolved, then you're going to start arranging your pumpkin in the pot. Traditionally, Cinderella pumpkin is used, but you can use whatever your favorite pumpkin is. And the more traditional old style recipes, they like to leave the seeds. I like to remove them, but that's completely up to you. And you're going to layer the pumpkin flesh down so it's touching the syrup. That way it has a chance to absorb all that delicious flavor. And then once you have your pumpkin layered, you're going to cover the pot and you're going to let that simmer until the pumpkin is nice and soft. But about halfway through, I like to take the top pieces and move them down to the bottom, so that way all of the pumpkin pieces have a chance to cook and simmer in the delicious syrup. And that way the pumpkin will have a lot of extra flavor. Now be very careful when you're doing this because the syrup is very hot and it can burn you. But as you can see, you're just taking the bottom pieces, the pieces of pumpkin from the bottom and moving them to the top. And then you're going to cover the pot back up again and then just let it cook, simmer for the remainder of the time, and then you can check on it to make sure that the pumpkin is nice and tender. I like to just make sure that every little bit of the pumpkin has some of the syrup drizzled over it. And you can check for doneness by taking a fork and inserting it into the pumpkin pieces, and if it goes straight through, then the pumpkin is cooked. Now you're going to remove the pumpkin very carefully from the pot, and once you set all the pumpkin pieces aside, cover them with aluminum foil to keep it warm. And then you can strain the syrup very carefully so you don't burn yourself, and then just simmer it down until it's nice and thickened. That's what I like to do, to just thicken up the syrup a little bit more. And then to serve, you're going to serve a slice and you're going to drizzle some of that delicious piloncillo syrup over it. This is the most traditional way. Now I also like to add vegan evaporated milk or vegan milk over my calabaza. That's completely up to you, but it gives it like another level of deliciousness and creaminess. Now if you've never had this dessert, you really should at least once. I promise, even if you don't like pumpkin, this is such a treat because you get the sweetness, the tenderness from the pumpkin, and then all the aromatic spices, and then that sweet tartness from the orange. It is such a magical and delicious, flavorful treat for Dia de Muertos. I hope you give it a try. Let me know and have a beautiful day.